Hello. So, a couple weeks ago, I said I was going to do some tests using Thea against Osh. Instead of using the normal stone cold line, just kind of cutting Nebula. For Thea, and the reason is because my Nebula is pretty weak. She's only orange 3. We haven't finished working out all of her skins and stuff yet. So I'm still working on her. And because she needs the same resources and stuff as Sebastian and Isaac for Ascension. I don't have like any Ascension progress on her, right? We got physical attack plus 30. That's it. She does get the roll bonuses because she's on the same branch as Isaac and Sebastian, so she does get the roll branch bonuses. But she just wasn't surviving. She was pretty weak. So I tried it with Thea. I got pretty good results. So Thea, right? So let's go to my line here. I'm right down here. See. Wrong button. So right here, I got 22 million to the 160 boss without Nebula. I did use Albus this week. In previous weeks, I was using Axel to try to get some more survivability. But my team wasn't fully survived. Like I said, Nebula didn't make it to the end of the fight. She died really quickly, so she wasn't giving me a lot. While the rest of the team did survive, we did get, I can't remember. It seems like we got a similar number, but this time I had Albus instead of Axel and Thea instead of Nebula. We did get a similar result, but the difference though is nobody died this time, so this is, I feel like, a bit more consistent. That Axel line, yes, it works, but I said, dropping Nebula for Thea seemed to give this line a bit more survivability. Right, and Thea had some more healing. She had some magic defense buffs, which are actually relevant. Isaac does his thing. He tanks like a champ. The healing does pure damage when it's overheals. So it's defense tiers, which can buff out Albus. But we got the AE healing. But we got the magic defense buff up, and if you notice, Isaac is actually taking only 26 11s. He's taking a lot less magic damage with the magic defense buff up. So that's also relevant. She does add some help Isaac mitigate a bit more. Between that and his Thea's buffs and his magic attacks, his magic defense skin, he has the survivability to not take a lot of magic damage, and he still does killing the spheres just fine. He's not slow ulting or anything. He's ulting plenty fast. So we were able to get some extra mitigation out of Isaac with Thea's magic defense buff, plus she's healing. So we now have the survivability. That survivability is not an issue. If you could, like I said, once my Nebula is stronger and stuff, like Martha, so I'm still working on Martha. Like I said, just kind of get them to where they're just strong enough to actually do this outright, which we're just not there yet. We're still working, like I said, we've been working on my support branch, but, this is working out pretty good with Thea instead of Nebula. So this is, like, if you're trying to think of, like, ways to try to get some extra survivability, like I said, you can. Like I said, Nebula is the most replaceable of those lines. I mean, she does do really well right next to Sebastian between Jew. She can do a lot of, she can help them do a lot of extra damage with her thing, but, so if you need extra survivability, like, she's the one you have to cut. And in my case, she's also the weakest of these heroes, so, but this is working. Like this, we passed 8 figures. First few weeks when I was trying the 160 boss, I was just doing Stone Cold with like the normal line, and I was getting maybe 2.5 million damage. I just did not have the survivability to make it work, so I started trying Axel instead of Albus. That was working okay, but it was inconsistent, and the whole line wasn't surviving. Like Nebula's dying really quickly. Sometimes Sebastian died. So it just wasn't working. So, bringing in a second healer is actually has been much better, more consistent. Surviving. Like I said, Isaac's getting them enough magic defense to actually mitigate. And that makes a big difference. And like I said, we're still doing a lot. You're still getting some good crits from Sebastian, like some good pure damage off of crits for Sebastian. The hero buffing, like the buffs work with the Chosen's Blessing or whatever it's called, Keeper's Blessing. Buffing and. But this is working really well, and so this is certainly another thing to look at. Like, is kind of like an alternative to Nebula in this line if you're having a trouble surviving. But yeah, no, like I said, we survived the whole fight. Nobody died. And we got, 22.5 million. And let's go look at the numbers. Jew did a lot. It's like, so Sebastian did less, and that's like I said, is some of there's a bit of randomness there. There is a bit of randomness, the crits and stuff. As I'm guessing, Jew got a lot of his crits when Sebastian's battle song wasn't up. There is a bit of randomness there with crits. Usually Sebastian chops DPS just because of Albus. But in this case he didn't. Nebula does help his DPS quite a bit, and that might be also be but usually I would still expect Sebastian to have more DPS than Jews. So the potential here is I could probably do more than 22 million to Osh with this line. It just like said sometimes the RNG didn't work in my favor. Again, doing a bit of maybe like changing Alp's timing, like wait just like a second or two for doing his first ult might also help a bit. Sometimes just timing it, changing your timing just a bit, try to get a bit more favorable results so you get more pure damage during Albus charge up. Could also be beneficial. But yeah, so that's what we got here. Like I said, damage, like I said, even Identifaxel, we still have pretty even damage distribution. Like, of course, Isaac was most because he's tanking. But we were surviving the meteors okay. Like I said, and again, the magic defense buff and combined with the magic defense skin on Isaac was enough to bring a magic defense, so he was mitigating. So that's really good. Thea, again, she's a very capable healer. Did almost as much healing as Martha. All that healing, especially if it's over healing, does pure damage to the defense spheres with healing converter. So very big deal there. So this is why this line works, is because now I have two really strong healers, keeping them alive. This like I said, helps the survivability. It makes a huge difference in lasting longer. And like I said, if you're not where you can just use the full Stone Cold team like I was, like, using Nebula instead of Thea just wasn't working out for me. With Albus, like, I was getting maybe 2 million damage. It just wasn't working out, so I was trying Axel. That was okay, but it was pretty inconsistent. Like I said, people are still dying through the meteors and stuff. So Thea instead of Nebula, it seems like I said, this will probably be what I go with in the, going forward, at least how I can get, Nebula up to snuff. And Martha, I'm still working on Martha. I'm trying to, like I said, she's only red 1. I want to get her red 2, kind of finish her equipment list. Like I said, I've done with her skins finally. I'm done with her everything else on her. Just need to finish our equipment, which will probably take me a month or two, honestly, just because the rate I farm stuff. I don't spend a whole lot of money on this game anymore. I mean, I do during certain events, like I'll do like when you have to spend energy and stuff. But this will probably, just because there will be, like I said, there'll probably be a lot spend energy during the anniversary events or whatever. But it'll probably take me till the end of March or so before I'm done with Martha. And then I'll start working on Nebula's equipment. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you for watching.